Food is at the heart of civilizations, given its importance for human subsistence, flourishing, and well-being. It has always been linked to local cultures. In the past, our ancestors developed culinary traditions based on what the land provided. Creative and resourceful grandmothers could find new ways to craft delicious and unique recipes from the staple crops that were cultivated by hand. Food was an essential cultural element that bound people together, enforced a shared sense of identity, and strengthened community and belonging. Nowadays, due to industrial agriculture, our diets are converging. More than 40% of our daily calories come from three staple crops: rice, wheat, and maize. Markets have changed in the last few decades. The affluence of high-quality vegetable seeds produced industrially has a detrimental influence on the cultivation of local crop varieties for small producers around the world. Agro-biodiversity is defined as the variety and variability of the plants, animals, microorganisms, and biocultural systems linked to food. Many critical components of agro-biodiversity at genetic, species, and ecosystems level are in decline. The proportion of species at risk of extinction is increasing. Agrobiodiversity is indispensable to food security and sustainable development. It makes production systems and livelihoods more resilient to shocks and stresses. Moreover, seed standardization not only limits crop diversity, but knowledge and culture. There are currently two main methods for agrobiodiversity conservation: ex situ conservation, which implies preserving species outside their natural habitat, such as gene banks, where the varieties as seeds in cold store and then grow in different habitats. This method is accessible primarily to professional scientists and breeders. On the other hand, in situ conservation is performed in the sites where plants develop their distinctive properties. It allows the preservation of knowledge associated with crops, the cultural valorization of resources, and the continuation of dynamic crop processes of adaptation to climate, pests, diseases, and sociocultural context. Although significant progress has been made in ex situ conservation, most agricultural biodiversity is conserved in farmers' field through its continuous cultivation. Thus, the role of farmers is highly strategic for the conservation of diversity at global level, playing a preponderant role. Unfortunately, this contribution remains mainly in the shadows and is often seen as support to the work of researchers. The biodiversity present in any landscape results from the interactions between biological, ecological, environmental, social, and cultural processes. Another important factor within the food system is the aging of the farmer population. Agriculture doesn't represent a hopeful future for younger generations due to the harsh and unprofitable industry, which means a risk for the global food future. In the UK, the average age of a farmer is 59, which points out a significant impact on biodiversity conservation, particularly for heirloom varieties. Many older growers die with their seeds and knowledge before trespassing them to someone else, leading to the imminent extinction of unique lines. The lack of knowledge transmission to younger generations represents a severe threat to the conservation of the diversity of traditional crops, since knowledge is required to cultivate, validate, and continuously improve resources to adapt them to the new needs. My proposal to address this situation is the Living Library, a system composed by two tools, one digital and one physical, aimed to connect different generations of growers to share and preserve knowledge around agrobiodiversity. The Living Library is a physical space for the local growers to connect with the community that aims to recognizing and revaluing growers' knowledge and acknowledging their crucial role as a conservationist, at the time that promotes the participation as biodiversity conservators to other members of the community. The Living Library will allow the community to connect with their culture, identity, and culinary heritage, reintegrating the production and consumption of food as something joyful and participatory. How does it work? Attend the Living Library. It gathers a sample of the agrobiodiversity from our local growers and the significant labor they have done to preserve it. Recognize the local biodiversity on the map at the entrance and discover the work of the local growers to preserve our culinary heritage. The contact details are on the map for all the local growers who want to be part of the living library. Connect with the local growers in person at the library or know more about their work using the QR codes located on the pots. Participate as a new grower by inheriting a variety from the living library. Since the varieties at the library are very precious, you need to demonstrate your experience. You can do this by talking with the growers. Learn how to grow the variety you inherit by using the resources at the digital platform, such as techniques and recommendations from the original grower crops. Preserve the local agro-biodiversity and with it your culinary heritage and identity. The digital platform is a compendium of the knowledge from different growers around the UK and their stories. This tool aims to facilitate the documentation and sharing of growers' knowledge related to agro-biodiversity to the public in general. It offers a local biodiversity mapping that will serve as a monitoring program for agro-biodiversity. There you can see on the map the varieties that are growing in your area. You can select by crop, season, or cultivation technique. Then you will see the stories from growers like Jamie.
Hello, I'm Jamie. This is my area of the community croft. One in here is called Golden Burpee, so it's a golden fleshed rather than a red fleshed variety of beetroot, and it's much sweeter. We've got one really nice example back there. I don't know if you can see it. Nice large root coming up there.
Or Toby, who's growing a Scottish heirloom variety.
This is the variety you see here is called Dobby's Purple, and it was bred in the Edinburgh area at the beginning of the 20th century, between 1900 and 1920, we think. And it's a conical rooted beetroot, so it's going to look more or less like a carrot, a big tough carrot. And we're growing this to produce more seed of it. So these plants that you see here will be harvested, and the best ones will be kept.
The users can get in contact with the growers to ask specific questions. This platform is administered by the Living Library community. All the growers interested can become members and share their farming stories by recording them and filling a profile form. For all the growers with no digital skills, the Living Library provides the help of the nearest grower available to record their stories. This network can help local communities engage in collective management practices and recognizing and valuing people's knowledge and wisdom as central to social transformation. The Living Library promotes the biodiversity conservation by connecting different generations of farmers to preserve traditional knowledge, practices, and culture, by strengthening the sense of identity, ownership, and pride among farmers' communities, by recognizing and revaluing growers' knowledge and their crucial role as conservationists. The global strategic plans for biodiversity conservation should be based not only on institutional and private plant breeders and seed banks, but mainly on the vast number of growers who continuously select, improve, and use agrobiodiversity at the local scale. Conservation and innovation in agrobiodiversity depend on the continuous exchange of knowledge and experiences, seeds, and cultivation techniques between generations and between individuals and communities.